back to Cox Connections, exclusively on Cox 9 Roanoke. I'm Kim Stanley. Internet safety is a concern of all parents. Cox offers help through the parental controls and internet security features it offers through the Cox high-speed internet service. Local law enforcement agencies are also playing a big role in keeping our children safe in this technical age. Roanoke County Police Officer Eric Orange is here to give us a few tips on how to keep our children safe as they surf the internet. Eric, good to see you and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
So why don't you talk a little bit about some of those tips, for elementary, middle school, high school? I'm guessing they're all a little different maybe.
They are, you're right, but there are some basic features, some basic things to keep in mind that are very important. One thing would be keep your computer in a central location, maybe a living room or a dining room area where you can always kind of have some overview of what's happening, what your children are doing, what they're viewing. Another very important thing for parents is to make sure you set your safety controls and your features, any type of parental controls that are available to you. Make sure you look into those and have those set up as appropriate.
Okay. What are some of the warning signs that there is some inappropriate activity going on with the children?
Well, I think it's very important, as in many features of parenting, to keep open lines of communication with your children. And so if you see that your children tend to, they start to become reserved in what they're viewing on the computer, things that they're seeing, if they start talking less about maybe friends they were interacting with previously, then that may be a warning sign that something has changed, something's taken place that you may want to look into further.
And then when does a parent get the police involved? I mean, how do you know when you think that it is to that point that something's going on that's not right?
That's actually a very good question, and I like the way that you worded it as far as what you know, because it really is an individually based thing. It really depends on what the parent feels comfortable with and what they feel like is necessarily an emergency or a police-oriented situation. Anytime that the parent feels uncomfortable, they should definitely contact someone. Even if it's just to ask simple questions, they can contact their local agency and just advise them of the situation they have, and they can give them advice from there. But anytime the parent feels like that they may want to go to the next step, they should definitely do so.
Okay. And then, children accidentally or sometimes on purpose, but they send inappropriate things such as pictures, just maybe their address, just, you never know.
Right.
So what do you do when that happens? I mean, how do you get it back?
Right. Well, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, you can't just get the information back because the internet being what it is, it's so easy for that information to be out there, and once it's out there, it's out there. Again, it goes back to those open lines of communication. It's very important for parents to emphasize to their children not to share any type of personal information. Things as simple as where you go to school, your address, things like that are very important that they keep to themselves and keep private. Be aware of who your children are interacting with on the computer and on the internet. There are also a lot of different setups as far as like game systems and things have networks now where you can interact over the net and you can get on there and play games together. So it's very important to just monitor those and let your children know that you're monitoring it for their safety and not necessarily in a reason because you don't trust them, but because you want to keep them safe.
Wow, I tell you, there's just so much on there.
Yes, ma'am.
That it can be overwhelming and hard to keep up with. You
Right.
know, you talked about being sure you're communicating with your children. So what are some of the talking points? Some of the tips that you can offer parents. In that conversation with their kids.
Well, there are actually a lot of good websites out there, and there are really good things as far as programs that go on. Different programs that will be put on in regards to keeping your children safe. The Center for Missing and Exploited Children is also a great tool for parents who are looking for topics or ways to introduce these conversations. And as you mentioned earlier, it's going to vary from what age your child is, whether it's elementary, middle school, or high school age. So really, the most important thing is once you've developed that line of communication, just find what works best for you and the best way to approach it from there.
And let's just say that inappropriate material gets out there. What are the parents' resources to get it back? I mean, is there a way to retract or pull things down, and is that where you get involved?
We can. As law enforcement, obviously we'll get involved. Again, like I said, anytime the parents want us to, anytime they call us, we can get involved. As far as Leamington, if it's a situation where maybe photos have gotten out via text message or email, those are things that in some aspects we can recover that and retrieve it. Other things that parents can look into is definitely look into the security features, not only that your computer and the software offers, but also whoever you're getting your internet service through, look at what features they have as far as parental controls and safety features. And then there are a lot of good websites that you can go to, one of which being netsmarts.org. It has a lot of good tips for parents, and that's one resource that I've seen a lot of community groups will look to. when it comes to internet safety. Again, the Center for Missing and Exploited Children has a really good website, and those are two great locations for a parent to turn to if they have questions in regarding any type of thing with internet safety and their children.
You know, and that's interesting. You just said texting. You know, we focus on internet, we focus on computers. We all know that we should keep our family computer in an area that can be viewed by everyone. But you know, we also deal with texting. And with the advances of texting, you can now send pictures. There's so much you can do with texting as well.
Right, there are. And again, with that, you want to look into security features that your service provider offers. You know, what can you have and what type of filters can be placed on that, especially with a lot of your internet-based phones and the ones that have the data browsers and things like that. Look into what safety features are in place with that. And again, just communicate to your children not only the importance now for their overall safety, but how it can affect them in the future. It may not always result in a situation where they become victimized per se in a criminal nature, but it can be a situation where it can affect them with school in the future. It can affect them as far as professional choices. You see a lot now with some of the social media networks, and I know that a lot of workplaces now are viewing those as potential employers. And so if a child has put things on there, even as a teenager, high school age child, college age, that could affect them later when that's being viewed by a potential employer, it can definitely weigh heavily on them.
That is so important. You know, Facebook, everything, people are just putting all kinds of stuff on there, and it can affect you down the road. So, yeah, a lot of good stuff. Cox also, you know, we offer the internet, we also offer the cell phone service, and you know, we have all of those great controls. We also have a learning lounge here, you know, our site on Fallow Water, where parents can come in and talk to our educator and learn how do you use all of those resources that are available to you. So,
absolutely.
Well, thank you for being on the show, and thank you for all you're doing out there to keep us safe. We appreciate it. Still to come, an area organization is trying to improve Roanoke City's graduation rate by intervening with the city's youngest students. Stay with us. That story after the break.